Cass City. I don't know where that is. And then, of course, Isaac N. Jr. We have Dostel also. Wow, joining us all the way from China. God bless you. Keep joining us. We are dealing with mothers of destiny. Now, before we go on, let me announce that by God's grace, our Bible school is taking off very soon. Ultimate Ministerial Academy. Ultimate Ministerial Academy. We are located at East Legon in the plush building of Ohima Plaza. And we have courses leading to a certificate in Christian ministry, certificate in how do you call it? Executive certificate in Christian leadership. We also have a 2-year diploma in Christian ministry, and all these you can enroll and join us. If for some reason you cannot be resident on the campus, or you can't come for the physical teaching, you can join us on our special online class. And the online class makes it possible for students to join us from all over the world, even from China, from US, UK, and from outside Accra. You just go to our website and you register from there. And so even those who want to be physical in the classroom, you can still go on the website and register from there. The website address is www.ultimateministerialacademy.org. www.ultimateministerialacademy, that's one word, ultimateministerialacademy.org. And then once you are on the website, you can then complete the necessary forms. If you also need some further clarification, you can call the number 020 711 3173. 020 711 3173. You can call maybe after the program and find out how you can enroll, or you can simply go to the website Ultimate Ministerial Academy. That is www.ultimateministerialacademy.org. And once there, you can pick all the information you need and even enroll online. Mothers of Destiny. Mothers of Destiny. And tonight we are looking at Ruth. We are looking at Ruth. So if you have your Bibles, let's look at the book of Ruth, chapter 1, and from verse 6 to verse 18. But we will be making reference. As a matter of fact, what we're talking about covers the entire book of Ruth, all the 4 chapters. So we will be going back and forth and reading a few more of the verses in the entire book. But for now, let's read chapter 1, verse 6 to 18. Ruth, mother of destiny, who represents choice and chance. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them bread. Therefore she went out from the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. And Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. So she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. Verse 10. And they said to her, surely we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Verse 12. Turn back, my daughters, go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have a husband tonight, and should also bear sons, would you wait for them till they were grown? Would you restrain yourself from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or turn back from following you. For wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. When she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her. We're talking about Ruth, a mother whose choices and chances changed the world. Now, Ruth was a Moabitess, and let's just get a little bit of her background before we go into her motherhood. And for a background, we will need to understand that being a Moabitess suggests that they were not very friendly with Israel. And because of that, the Lord had also cursed Moab. Of course, the Lord cursed the land of Ammon and the land of Moab because of the way they treated Israel when they were moving from Egypt. I also want you to know that Ammon and Moab were the two children of Lot, that is Abraham's nephew. If you look at the story of these two children who were born to Lot, it was quite, funny. After their escape from Sodom and Gomorrah, the daughters of Lot realized that all the men were destroyed, and they saw no chance of getting married. They saw no chance of having children. And so they said to one another, let's get our father drunk and have sexual turns with him, so that by him we can have children. So let me read that from Genesis chapter 19, reading from verse 30. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his two daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his two daughters, of course, remember that his wife had just turned into a pillar of salt when they were traveling. And so he and his daughters dwelt in a cave. Now the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on earth to come in to us, as the custom of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. And so when we jump to verse 36, we read that thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. So this is the scenario. Lot's daughters made their father drink, and then they had turns with him and had children by him. One was Ben-Ammi or Ammon, and the other was Moab. And as Israel journeyed through the wilderness on their way from Egypt to Canaan, something happened. They came to the plains of Moab. You know, the children of Lot, that is Moab and Ammon, grew. They also had families and they established in their own lands. And so, then this was years after, when the children of Israel were now traveling from Egypt to Canaan, something happened. They got to the plains of Moab, and the king of Moab, who was called Balak, realized that the people were numerous, they were many, and he also saw that the people could be more powerful than they. And so what did he do? Instead of just allowing them to pass through the land and go their way, King Balak hired a prophet, Balaam, to curse them. So the prophet Balaam also agreed, took money from Balak, and tried to curse them. And you know the story. Anytime Balaam tried to curse them, he would receive a word from Jehovah that you cannot curse these people. But he still became adamant and was bent on cursing until his own donkey had to receive the power of speech, and he spoke to him. Then later on, when Balaam couldn't curse the children of Israel because they were already blessed, he devised a new strategy because he had taken money to frustrate Israel. And so what happened was that he had to hire some people to get in and sleep with the daughters of Israel, to get them all messed up and to go against the law of God. And then God had to destroy some of the children of Israel. And it was all through the machinations of the prophet Balaam, who had taken money from King Balak to destroy the children of Israel. And so in Deuteronomy chapter 23, I want to read this. In Deuteronomy chapter 23, when Moses was repeating the events and the laws to the children of Israel just before he died, God through Moses did this. And he said in Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 3, he said, an Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter the assembly of the Lord. And what is the assembly of the Lord? It is the children of Israel, the gathering of Israel. So God insisted that no Ammonite or no Moabite would enter the assembly of the Lord, would enter into the fellowship of the Israelite. And he said, even to the 10th generation, none of his descendants shall enter the assembly of the Lord forever. because they did not meet you with bread and water on the road when you came out of Egypt, and because they hired against you Balaam, the son of Beor, from Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse you. Nevertheless, the Lord would not listen to Balaam, but the Lord your God turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loves you. You and listen, verse 6 says, you shall not seek their peace nor their prosperity all your days forever. So God, drew the lines between Israel on one side and the Ammonites and the Moabites on one side. That under no circumstance should an Ammonite or a Moabite enter the assembly of the Lord, even to the 10th generation. And none of their descendants would also enter. And that Israel was never to seek their peace nor their prosperity all the days of their life, forever. And so this is where we now find the setting of this story. Naomi, a Jewish mother, an Israelite mother, and the husband, Elimelech, traveled to the land of Moab, the same land that God had insisted that they wouldn't enter and into the fellowship of Israel. So that is where Naomi and the husband Elimelech traveled to. And they went in there with their sons, their two sons. Unfortunately, when they got in there after some years, the husband Elimelech died. And when Elimelech died, Naomi was, of course, the widow. She was now survived by the two sons. And these two sons also later picked wives for themselves. Of course, as far as Naomi was concerned, she had blown the bridges behind her because Elimelech was dead and there was no inheritance for her. And so she decided to remain in the land of Moab until she died. So she allowed the two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, to marry from Moab. And they married these Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. Of course, they had no intention to return to Israel. And if Naomi had died too, then the children would have remained there because they were married to Moabites. Then, unfortunately, the two sons also died. And so Naomi lost the husband and the two sons. All the men he cherished in her life died in this strange land. And she was survived by the two daughters-in-law. And when Naomi realized that was her fate, he didn't know what to do until she heard that God had visited her people in Bethlehem, that is in Judea. And so when she realized that now God had visited the people, she decided to travel back because now she was alone. She had no husband, she had no children. She went out full and was now going home empty. But the daughters-in-law decided to go back, to accompany her back to Bethlehem. Now, the two daughters clung to her and said, we would go back with you. Of course, it depends on what they saw in their mother-in-law. And I'm doing a book, I'm almost done, and the title is Loving Your In-Law. in love with your in-law, in love with your in-law. And I'm using Naomi as the case study for the ideal mother-in-law. Why not? The people saw something in her, and so though they lost their husbands, they decided to cling, and they decided to cling to Naomi. Though they were young, they knew they could still marry and remain in their land and not follow this old woman who had no inheritance, who had no back in Bethlehem. And if she's going, well, we tried, but then we couldn't be a family, and so you can go, we will stay. No, but there was something they saw in Naomi that made them cling to her. And Ruth would point that out later. And so Naomi also tried to dissuade them. And she put up a very strong argument. I'm not too sure if Naomi was privy to this instruction that no Moabite should enter the assembly of the Lord, that is Israel. But Naomi tried to dissuade them from going back with her. They tried, they insisted, and then Naomi raised this powerful argument. According to Naomi, she said, well, go back because I am too old. I cannot marry again. And even if I should marry, there is no way I can have children. And even if I should have children, you are grown. Would you wait for my children then to grow up? By the time my children turn 20, you would have been 20 years older than you are now. And would you be able to marry them? I mean, the odds are against me, and everything around me spells impossible. So please go back to your people. You have a chance to remarry and to start your family. You can go back to your parents. I release you to go back to your parents. The bond between us is ended because my sons are no more. She managed to convince Orpah, and so Orpah kissed her and wept and then returned. But Ruth, and this is where we see her choices. This is where we see her choice. Now Ruth said to Naomi, do not entreat me to leave you or turn back from following you, because wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. That did not end there. Now listen to what Ruth said. And that is what shocked Naomi. And remember, Ruth was a Moabitess. She had no right by the law to enter Israel and be part of that family. But listen to her. She said, your people shall be my people, and your God shall be my God. So in that breath, Ruth made a choice. He said, if I have to disown my own people in order to be with your people, I disown the land of Moab. I choose to sever myself from my nationality. I choose to adopt Israel as my nation. I choose to leave my people. I choose to break every relationship I have with my people. I separate myself from them, from every curse, from every pronouncement, and I denounce my nationality now. From now on, I become an Israel. And this was a pure choice. She said, your people shall be my people. And not that alone, he also said, your God shall be my God. So in other words, I also denounce the gods of the Moabites. I denounce the religion, the God, the land, everything. And I totally sell myself out to the God of Israel and to his land. That was serious. That was serious. I mean, Ruth said some very serious things like, where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Where you die, I will die. And there I'll be buried. But all these could be emotional statements. But the critical statements she made, of all what she said, these two lines are very critical. And they had eternal implications, destiny implications. She said, your people shall be my people. In other words, I denounce my people. I associate with you. I no longer see myself as a Moabitess. I see myself as a Hebrew, as an Israelite, and I belong to your people. Then she said, I also denounce and forsake the gods of my land, the Baals and all the Ashtoreths, the Molech, or the gods of the Canaanite, and none of these would be my God. I choose the God of Israel, and your God will be my God. Fantastic. Fantastic. So you see, Ruth, when she said this, Naomi realized that this woman has made a choice, and I cannot stop her. Interesting. The Bible says, when she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her. she did not just stop trying to persuade her or dissuade her, but she stopped talking to her. So, well, I can't push you back, so let's go. But I'm not going to talk to you. And so throughout the journey, I don't know which part of the journey they started talking, but Ruth knew that she had blown the bridges behind her. She had no more people except the people of God. She had no more God except the God of Israel. And in the mind of Naomi, Naomi was weighing these things. Now, this woman, what do I do with her? There is nothing I can do. I can't change her. And she even ended with a curse. She said, may the Lord do so to me and more also. And this was a statement of covenant. A statement of covenant. In the Old Testament, whether it was the Hebrews or even the heathen, anytime they cut a covenant, they would end with that statement. Because in a covenant, there are stipulations. Two parties cutting a covenant, and they will say to each other, this is my part of the bargain. You do this, I do this. I do this, you do this. And then, so they talk about the positive side of the covenant. This is what I will do for you, and this is what you will do for me. Then they talk about the negative side of the covenant. If you break the oath or you default in carrying out your part of the stipulation, then this will happen to you. And when that happens, they invoke the gods of the land. And so they would swear with that phrase Because in a covenant, they will cut an animal. They will cut an animal. They will shed blood. And they will point their finger on the dead animal, which was the sign of the covenant. And they will say, may the gods do so to me and more if I break my part of the covenant. And this was, part of the Canaanite tradition. You look at the suzerains and that's where we get the origin of covenants and so on. We call that the suzerainty covenants. And all these, they would end with some blood-curdling curses. It's like, if I fail, may my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth. If I fail, may my head be bashed against. If I fail, may my children become fatherless, and so on, and some strange curses they would pronounce on themselves, and they will say, "May the gods do so to me," and more. Ruth was used to that statement. Naomi understood that statement. And so this time around, Ruth was referring to that statement, and she did not even say the gods of my land. She said the Lord, and the Lord there is in capital. So it's like, may Jehovah do so to me, and more also, if anything but death separates us. So if I break this my vow, I'm not asking you to make any commitment, no. This is a one-sided covenant, and if I break it, may Jehovah destroy me. Naomi heard that statement, and already the woman has denounced her people. She has denounced her gods, and is now swearing by Jehovah. Case settled. Case settled. Naomi realized that no, she could do nothing about it but to agree. But until we get there, I'm not going to talk to you, because you have put me in a very tight corner, thinking about what to do, and so on, until they got to the land. So Ruth chose, and that is why we're talking about choice and change. She chose the God of Israel, she chose the people of Israel, and she chose the land of Israel. So what did she change? She changed her citizenship, her nationality. She changed her country. She changed her family. She changed her past. It's like, I erase my past. I don't belong to these people again. I am eternally bound to the people of Israel. And Naomi had no choice. God had no choice but to accept Ruth's declaration. So if you find Ruth in the lineage of the Messiah, she's not there as a Moabite woman. She's not there as a heathen. She is there as a Hebrew, as one who denounced her past, her family, her nationality, and accepted the land, the people, and the God of Israel. And so this is where the story begins. And so they got back to Bethlehem, and life started. Naomi became a solid mother to Ruth. And the relationship became so beautiful that I've chosen the Naomi Ruth relationship to do a whole book on in-law relations, in love with your in-laws, in love with your in-laws. And who tells you that you cannot love your in-law? Who tells you that it cannot be beautiful between you and your mother-in-law or between you and your daughter-in-law? It is possible. There are truths we can learn from Ruth. There are truths you can learn from Naomi. And they both teach us how to relate. And I'm almost done with the book. I'm believing God that by the end of this year, in fact, there are 2 books that are very ready to go to the press right now. And this is the 3rd one. So these other 2 will go to the press, God willing, this new month in June. And then once we settle, by then, this would also be ready. And by the end of the year, depending on how things go, it might even be earlier. That would also go. So between now and the end of the year, expect to read 4 more books from Pastor Gatti. And one of them is In Love with In-Laws, the story of Ruth and Naomi. And then, of course, we pick up a few principles on how to relate. But the story is now about to begin. Mama Lucy, so for me, it is story time. So she says it is story time, and I'm beginning to let her love the New Testament and the Old Testament. She said, Pastor, I've been reading New Testament. I hardly read the Old Testament, but you're making me fall in love with the New Testament, the Old Testament. Yeah. It's so for your sake, yes, I agree. It is story time. And the story is just about to begin because Naomi and Ruth have just gotten to the land. And so let's turn our Bibles to the book of Ruth once again, and let me read a few portions. I wish we could just read the story and there. So let me comment on a few things, and then next week we will apply this whole thing to a mother of destiny and see how the choice and the change, the we see how the choice and the chance that came upon Ruth affected her and also affected you and me, because Ruth became a mother of destiny. You remember later she gave birth to Obed. Obed gave birth to Jesse. Jesse gave birth to David, and David became the ancestor of Jesus Christ. Amazing. Amazing. So Ruth was the grandmother of King David. And so if Ruth had not made that choice, there would be no David. And you know how that would have affected the lineage or the nation of Israel, because Israel is David and David is Israel. Period. So let's look at chapter 1, reading from verse 19. I've said this, but let's read it. Now the 2 of them went until they came to Bethlehem. And it happened, when they had come to Bethlehem, that all the city was excited because of them. And the woman said, "Is this Naomi? Is this Naomi?" Now that's a different thing altogether. The women were surprised because for several years They hadn't heard of Naomi. They hadn't seen her. Of course, news, and especially bad news, travels very far. So they had heard that the husband had died and the children had also died. And they had heard all these stories. And so when Naomi got in there, obviously, such a situation would affect Naomi. It would affect her health. It would make her age. I mean, can you imagine traveling to a foreign land and then you losing your husband, losing your two sons, and the thoughts that went into her mind? What will people say? What will the family tell me that I took my husband there and used him for ritual? I'm a witch, and then I've chewed my husband. I have chewed my own son. I mean, can you imagine what she went through? So Naomi was a woman who was hit with calamity, and that could possibly change her form, her figure, her outlook. And so the women were like, is this Naomi? Is this Naomi? Then verse 20, then Naomi said to them, don't call me Naomi. In any case, Naomi means pleasant. The name means pleasant. And so it's like, don't call me Naomi. Don't call me pleasant. What is pleasant about me? It's like somebody who is going through crisis and you greet them good morning and they tell you, what is good about the morning? What is pleasant about me that you are calling me Naomi? Don't call me Naomi. Rather, call me Mara. Call me Mara. And Mara means bitter. Bitter. So don't call me pleasant. Call me bitter, because that is my new identity. Why? Because the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me. The Almighty has changed my identity from pleasant to bitterness. The Almighty has changed my destiny and made me a bitter person. Now there is no sweetness around me. There is no pleasantness around me. So don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara. And because I went out full, and you all saw me when I was leaving, or you all knew me before I was leaving. Look, I belong to a good family, and the house of Judah, and I come from Bethlehem. My husband was a very wealthy man. We had lands and so on, and I left because of the famine. We could not, you know, make ends meet, or we couldn't make more money like we had expected. So let's go to a new land and see what can happen to us. So we went out when we were full. But look at me. I am back home empty. The Lord has testified against me. The Almighty has afflicted me. Of course, I do not endorse the fact that he put the blame on the Almighty, because it was her decision to go, or their decision to go. And every decision comes with consequences. And sometimes we must learn to, to accept the consequences of our own decisions. Did she consult God? No. But then when she went and things turned against her, now she's blaming God. But that's another thing altogether. We are talking about Ruth. But Naomi responded to the women that they shouldn't call her Naomi, they should call her Mara. And verse 22 says, so Naomi returned, and Ruth, the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned from the country of Moab. Now they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Well, that is the end of part one, Mother of Destiny. And the story is getting interesting, huh? I want you to stay tuned and join me again, God willing, next week for the continuation. We'll get into chapter 2, and we'll still trace the life of Ruth, and how she got married and all that, and how she became the mother of destiny that we are talking. But the important thing is that Ruth made a certain choice. She made a certain decision. She caused a certain change and accepted a certain chance that turned her into a mother of destiny. And I'm doing this, dedicating this entire series to all mothers. My wife, the first lady of this ministry, is listening in, and trust me, she is a mother of destiny. And so, Dave, you are there. Cassie is watching. Isaac Kwao, Pulpitia, and a few other people. I'm trying to see them, but I'm not. But earlier on, we had somebody even watching us from China, somebody from Cass, was it Cass Town or wherever? Um, I, if I'm not mistaken, that could be all the way in Kasua listening. But hey, all over, if you are listening, God bless you. And once again, I want to salute Noble Life Assemblies of God at Frafraha on the Dodoa Road. They hosted me this whole week, and we had a great time together. And you know, Osofo and Osofo Mami, God bless you. And Asafumba, God bless you all. Let me draw your attention once again to the school Ultimate Ministerial Academy. If you are listening and you want some information on this Bible school, you can call a number I will mention later. But then, if you you can also go onto our website, www.ultimateministerialacademy.org. It's a Bible school. We're offering a 1-year certificate in Christian ministry, a 1-year executive certificate in Christian leadership, and then a 2-year diploma in Christian ministry. We are also looking at a 1-year certificate program in church music, and that is for gospel musicians, gospel artists, singers, choir leaders, and so on. This is a special package for you. So visit our website, www.ultimateministerialacademy.org, and then you can enroll from there. Just fill the form, and you can just do that online. If you have challenges, you can call the number 0. Get a pen and paper. Write the number 020 711 3173. 020 711 3173. And I'll be ready to talk to you about Ultimate Ministerial Academy. If you also want to visit the campus, it is at East Legon, on the stretch from the Legon traffic light, all the way towards American House. And just before you get to American House, the Ohima Plaza is located on your left, and it is opposite Lord of the Wings. It's a restaurant. And so once you get there, you will even see a big signboard, Ultimate Ministerial Academy. Just enter. You can pick the form physically and fill it, and let your pastor give you your recommendation. And you can start. Lectures will start very, very soon. Lectures will start this June. So don't be late. If you are hearing me, go onto the website immediately, or you can call that number. If you know somebody who is desirous of entering ministry and wants to receive training, let that person call. And if you also just want to broaden your knowledge of the Word of God, to understand the Old Testament, the New Testament, to understand a few things about Scripture, please, it is also your school. So call or visit the website, and you can register. Don't let the distance be a problem. If you are here listening to me outside Accra, outside the country, you can we have a special online school package for you, and you can go through the entire course strictly online, and you can sit in the comfort of your home wherever you are and take all the courses and receive your certificate. And it's an online version to our programs. I pray that the good Lord will remember you and bless you, and help us to meet again next week. I'll come your way again with a continuation of Ruth, the mother of destiny. Until then, Barikiwe. So let me also announce that every Wednesday, from 12 noon to 1 p.m., we have I have this program dubbed Lunchtime with Fathers. Every Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Lunchtime with Fathers, and this is done on purely social media, or on social media, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So join me there, and let's do this together. Join me Wednesday, 12 o'clock, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the address is JB Gate. JB Gate. So this Wednesday, make sure you are there. And once you are there, just write something to me and let me know you are there. And after that, we will respond to you. Yeah. Once you are there, please like the page, follow us, and subscribe, and then, most importantly, share with friends, and then we will all have lunch together. It's every Wednesday. And so until I see you again here at Asempa 94.7, or meet you on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube for Lunchtime with Fathers, I pray that the good Lord will bless you. What can I say? Barikiwe, you are blessed.